Although we recognize Van Gogh as one of the most renowned painters of all time, were you aware that he only managed to sell one painting in his entire lifetime? For the most part of his career, he remained broke and barely made ends meet. But contrary to his situation, some popular artists managed to enjoy their popularity within their lifetime. Curious? Well, in today's video, we'll get to know 15 artists who became wealthy overnight. But before we move forward, if you're new here, consider clicking that subscribe and notification bell to keep you updated on the latest valuable content that might just change your life. Alright, let's dive in. First on the list is Damien Hirst. Most artists we know take the vibrant aspects of life and create aesthetically pleasing artworks about them. But Damien wanted to try something different and portray death in his work. Because of how unconventional his approach is, many have grown to love Damien's creepy yet interesting artworks. Art enthusiasts also admired his work and continued to support his art. Damien was steadily growing his art career and had plenty of income coming in at his doorstep. But if it weren't for this one bold move, he would have had to wait a longer time before he really took off. Unlike most artists who set up their art in a gallery for viewing, Hirst had an idea to sell his artwork directly through a public art exhibit known as Beautiful Inside My Head Forever. And on September 15 to 16, 2008, only 2 days had gone by and Damien made a whopping $198 million, giving him a well-deserved spotlight for becoming a multi-millionaire overnight. Up next on number 2 is Banksy. We all know him as a great mystery artist who isn't just any other kind of artist, because Banksy himself ignited a movement through his creative work. His life, real name, and personal details are still in the dark, but surely the world knows of Banksy's exceptional artworks. One work that drove his popularity even further is named The Girl with Balloon. It was sold for $1.4 million last 2018, but almost after it was sold, a paper shredder out of sight began shredding the painting. This was an act meant to remind us how open the world is to spend millions of dollars on a piece of art. Surprisingly, the artwork did not get shredded all the way through, revealing half of its piece intact. What was left only further raises the value of the art piece. With this new development, the person who bought the artwork changed its name to Love is in the Bin. He put it up for sale once again and ended up selling it for $29.5 million. The sold painting was recognized as one of the most expensive artworks in history. News then spread like wildfire, creating much noise to propel Banksy's career to the top. Since then, the anonymous creative genius continued to make bold art pieces that many people around the world continue to love. Third on the list is David Cho. Interestingly, unlike graffiti artists often work in the shadows to preserve their mystery and anonymity. But life seems to have much more in store for David because one decision changed his career forever. In the past, when Facebook was still in its early stages, Sean Parker, its president, admired Cho's graffiti work and asked if he could paint the Facebook headquarters similarly. Although David wasn't planning to deal with anything about social media back then, he struck a good deal with Sean. In exchange for $60,000, Cho will fill the entire building with graffiti art. And once he finished, Sean Parker gave him 2 options. One is to proceed with the initial deal they had with each other, or instead choose to own $60,000 worth of company stakes. Cho, suddenly seeing how this could be a good investment, chose the stocks for the price of his work. And when Facebook finally went live, the value of his stocks skyrocketed, earning him $200 million overnight. Fourth on the list is Jeff Koons. Jeff takes the ordinary in our everyday lives and makes exceptional art out of them. And for sure, as kids, we love to see balloon animals. Jeff himself has recognized the joy these little works can bring and decided to see if he can recreate them through a metal sculpture. But oh boy, did he go far! Because his balloon dog was not only big in size, but also huge in sales. This grand metal sculpture about how inflatable animals represent passing happiness ended up selling for $52 million. Along with other sculptures, Koons continues to remind all of us of the beauty and the simple joys of everyday living. Number 5 is Jasper Johns. Back in his time, most of the artists in the late 1950s were all focused on abstract expressionism. But Jasper had other things in mind. He worked on incredibly beautiful paintings of maps, flags, and everyday things. Eventually, his work sparked a new ground where pop art can flourish. Out of all of his contributions to the art community, one defining painting he called Flag was sold for around $35 million. Jasper continued to create more art, and by the end of his time, the man had made over $300 million. Coming up at the 6th spot on our list is Gerhard Richter. One of the veterans in the art community, Gerhard has made a name for himself because of how unique his work has become. Over the years, the man gradually created big adjustments to his art, even to the point of scraping some of its parts to make it appear blurry. Well, this crazy act was actually meant to deliver the message, nothing matters, because of how equally important and unimportant everything appears to be. This absurd yet incredibly intriguing philosophy behind his artwork garnered so much attention. Eventually, his art piece named Abstractus was so well received that it sold for $27.6 million. It is those who are unique that truly stand out and reap the rewards, don't you think? Next up at number 7 is Takashi Murakami. Some have grown comfortable with life, and some artists thrive in capturing the simple in everything. But Takashi went off to pursue another track and explores how wild art can be. The man himself portrays the rich history and inner life of the Japanese subculture otaku. In an attempt to see what the future of art looks like, he focused on working on the ever-adapting and growing Western influence on Japanese contemporary culture. Because of his unique philosophy in art, he made it in the top 100 most influential people in 2008. In the same year, his artwork, Lonesome Cowboy, got massive praise and was sold for $13.5 million. Now the artwork's worth has aged beautifully along with its artistic value. At number 8 is Andrew VICARI. This precious man definitely knows his worth and even calls himself the king of painters. But fortunately, he wasn't all talk because his artworks are exceptionally elaborate and beautiful in nature. He used the most popular and the wealthiest people as the subject of his art, and in 2001, a prince in Saudi Arabia, Prince Colette, bought $43 million worth of his paintings. This newly accumulated profit helped him rise to the top and get his name included on the list of the richest painters in Britain. Next on our list is ANISH Kapoor. Unlike most of the artists we've introduced to you so far, Kapoor managed to become extremely wealthy because he actually created the famous Chicago bean. This massive tourist attraction alone made him $23 million, and to add to his accumulating wealth, his piece named Untitled sold for $3.8 million. His large-scale sculptures continuously generated wealth for Kapoor. Rich in detail and in wealth, Kapoor surely made a mark in the modern art community. Number 10 is David Hockney. This gentle heart made a name for himself because of his simple yet incredibly interesting art pieces. What makes him unique as an artist is a refreshing way he exhibits his ideas. In his piece called Pool with Two Figures, he surprised his audience because the artwork was just a snippet of his entire exhibition. This lured so many multiple millionaires that an auction has to happen to settle the deal. In the end, the painting sold for $90 million, directing him to the limelight as one of the most expensive artists to have ever lived. Moving on, next on the list is Mike Winkelmann, also popularly known as Beeple. In this day and age, even art has crossed multiple platforms and has gone digital. Beeple, on his early journey as a digital artist, only managed to sell prints for merely $100. But as the world of cryptocurrency boomed in 2021, he sold an NFT for a massive $69 million. And from then on, he gained a ton of following and influenced many artists to follow in his footsteps. He forged a new path where art can be recognized, and as we can see, he is very well rewarded for it. Next up at number 12 is POC. Sure, the crypto world is still a fairly new platform for artists, but as always, some incredibly talented and fortunate artists managed to land out a jackpot. This man created an innovative way to market his NFTs, setting him apart from thousands of competitors. In his way, he encourages the freedom of his customers to pick and select what catches their interests. In the digital sphere called Nifty Gallery, thousands of collectors joined and bought NFTs. And when the event came to a close, Pac made $91 million from a single NFT he sold. With this sale, he became recognized as one of the most wealthiest artists to have ever lived. At number 13 is Antony Gormley. The man is known for his intricate and massive public structures. Antony knows to go all in with his enchanting creations that can take your breath away. He had installations globally, but among the most beautiful ones is a life-size statue he made in Winchester Cathedral. When heavy rain comes, the art piece transforms and creates a mysterious effect that stops a person in his tracks. Though not directly tied to religion, what he creates is truly ethereal and out of this world. Moving on, we have XCOPY. This hipster and very original gangster artists are very popular in the NFT world. The man himself, XCOPY, is very interactive with the art community and regularly engages with them on various platforms. Even back in the day, he used Tumblr to build up his following, and out of hobby, he created GIFs that soon became NFTs. Currently, the man behind XCOPY made $61 million, and as time goes by, his art will surely appreciate and gain more value. And finally, the last on our list is YAYOI KUSAMA. As mentioned earlier, the most unique often are the ones who really come through. YAYOI proved this by creating artworks using dots. Yes, dots. Dots that create exceptional and unsettling hallucinations you'll probably get dizzy at if you stare at them for too long. The woman gets even more creative as she also puts up mirror rooms in her art installations. On average, she can easily bring home $15 million for each art piece she sends off for auction. And to think she manages to sell several each year. Imagine how much wealth she has accumulated so far. The woman knows her value and deserves each million she receives. That's all that we have for you today, and if you've picked up some incredible learnings to apply in your daily life, you might as well join our community. Subscribe for more content that will change your life. We'll see you next time.